Here we are in the last day of the Boulevard Mall in Amherst off of Niagara Falls Boulevard, New York. There's Dick's Sporting Goods, but that's actually where the food court used to be. It was a magnificent food court back in the day. Probably the best of any mall in Western New York by far. It's been gone several years now, but it was really something else. Here's where a number of other stores were, of course. This one, I believe, was Walden Books. This one, most likely. And down the way over here, roughly, was KB Toys back in our day, growing up. I'm 41, so, well, almost. Anyways, I don't have the very best light, but I think you can kind of see what's what. That's where a booth was right there. That's where the Sears was, down there. You can see the ghost lettering up there. There's a former Sears entrance. It's looking back that way. Peace on earth.
One last visit?
Indeed, one last visit.
Let me get the video.
For sure.
What is that? Sorry. Because he was walking up there, girl.
Okay, so this is the whole directory. At least at the time they printed this out, which was a few years ago, so.
What is it?
I thought that said cocaine. I don't think they'd sell cocaine here. So, this is the Macy's here. This was the original store to this complex. This was Sattler's originally right there. And you see the other stores as they exist today. But of course there's more here. The original, the Kaufmann's became the men's Macy's. Before Kaufmann's it was, I think, Sibley's. And right where the Dick's Sporting Goods is there, that's where the huge food court was in that area, taking up essentially the same amount of space. And so some of the other stores. Now, I don't quite remember what was in each of these. This is really more for you guys to tell me in the comments below as to what was here. I am not a film expert, but I am a local historian, so I like to document where I can what I can. That was obviously Abercrombie and Fitch. Whatever had been operating here before up till now is coming down. I think that was a Payless in there. Banana Republic was over here. Behind the scenes hallway look. Now, this was for your entertainment, and then this was one other thing, and got a lot of CDs. This is when we used to listen to CDs and then buy them. Later on, this was a bookstore and CD place, and we got some DVDs in there. Even later on, some good stuff that I would buy for the Aerospace Museum and Das Haus Museum's gift shops. Got a lot of books there to sell for those groups in our gift shops. Hot Topic was in there. American Eagle in there. Because originally this was a plaza. These stores were plazas. You know? Another hallway look. It's hard to tell whether these were originally outside walls. Or not. So, now here, a large booth that had been here for many years was taken out a year or so ago and left this impression in the floor. This is the original tile work to the mall. Once it became a mall, once it ceased being a plaza and became a mall, they put this tile down. This is the actual original floor. And as you can tell, they layered over that with newer tiling. I don't know when, probably in the 90s. But I actually do remember this color floor, even at the Summit Mall, similar to this anyways. That's what the original tile work was. Sort of, and a lot of what you're seeing in here, the decoration and the refitting work, that was done later. The inside of the mall was different looking when it first became a mall. This Macy's here was an outside plaza store. It was Sattler's, just to begin with, in the 50s. And then this all was roofed over and additional stores tacked on to become the Boulevard Mall, our oldest mall. This fountain has seen a lot of great events over the years here, just like the food court. It had the Jamboree Bear Band here, which I didn't care for. I don't care for animatronics, but like that. But they were fun. It was fun enough for the kids. One of the oldest remaining stores was still here up until only a couple of years ago or so. And there was a shoe store right here. Had the famous fire engine truck facing on it, I believe. It sat on this side of the room. It's all got curtains over it here, but you can sort of see in there. Yeah. If I can just part the curtains enough. There you go. If this rings a bell, let me know. But this was a shoe store, and this was the last original tenant in the mall, the shoe store here. People used to come in from all over the place to get their feet or their children's feet fitted out over a long time. So this business, I did take some pictures of the closing sale of this. But this store was the last remaining original tenant at the time. Again, you can fill me in as to what the name of that was, but it was an event when that closed. This was a jewelry store. Just like that was a jewelry store. Kay's Jewelers. These circular planters here used to be holders for very large palm trees that used to be here. Each of these circles contained two or three apiece. They used to soar and reach almost to the ceiling. So this whole space was full of live palm trees. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 sets of them, it seems, lining this space and reaching almost to the ceiling, or most ways to the ceiling by the time I knew this place. So full palm trees filled this space. Can you imagine that? That's why these lights are the size that they are. They used to point straight up the sides of the trees. But you wouldn't have lights this big, of course, to illuminate small palms like this. They would be bigger than that, the palms. So if you come here before it's closed, you'll notice this. You wouldn't have lights that big illuminating palms that small. They originally lit up the side of the trees. It was a sort of winter garden in here, honestly, like the old winter garden in Niagara Falls. Look at this one. This one's pointed mostly straight up. That's how they were pointed. And these huge palm trees here. Another behind-the-scenes sort of shot. Right there, looking out. Definitely going to miss this place tremendously. It's just like seeing the Summit Mall going again. The Boulevard Mall and Summit Malls were owned by the same people at one point. Evidently, the owners preferred the Summit Mall over the Boulevard, or the other way around, actually. And I think that's according to some who thought the Summit Mall was kind of abandoned after a while. Didn't fare as well as this one did anyways. This one has obviously hung on for a bit longer as a mall. But here's the old Kaufman's coming up. Which was Sibley's. For Sibley's was taken over by Kaufman's. And then Kaufman's was taken over by Macy's. Don't know what's going to happen here. This is what's not on the map that we saw, the directory. And that's because it's not in operation right now. Don't know if it will be torn down like all the rest of it. Don't know. There were long lines coming in off this parking lot here, going into this entrance of the JCPenney's to see the Stanley Cup when the Sabres faced the Dallas Stars that year. And or at least the Stanley Cup was here close to that time, and there were long lines going out the door here. I remember standing in that line right in here. And this is the outside of the JCPenney's looking north. There was long lines of people standing along here to view the Stanley Cup on display in here. That's when shopping malls were special. You still had special events at the shopping malls like that. And somewhere towards the center of the store, in that direction there where the Sephora stuff is, roughly in there, that's where there was a special table set up for the Stanley Cup to sit. We all had family pictures with it. Well, that's the interior of the Boulevard Mall as it stands now. C'est la vie, and God bless and thank you for many, many great years. Hopefully some of these malls will come back in some other way. Hopefully the mall concept will come back. I think it will, in a different way than where it was when we were growing up. So, yeah, stay tuned. But in the meantime, sayonara, Boulevard Mall. One more memory down. This is also for you out-of-towners missing this day. You're fine. Yeah, okay.